Although number 74, Fred Dean, was not a starter, he was one of the 49ers' defensive difference makers. A pass-rushing specialist who was moved around like a chess piece, Dean was a dominating player in 1983. That season, he led the NFC with a franchise record 17.5 sacks and was named to the Pro Bowl.
Fred Dean was blessed with great strength and quickness. And he had a body like an Adonis, and he didn't lift weights.
In a 1983 game against New Orleans, Dean registered 6 sacks. For the 1984 season, San Francisco was depending on Dean to duplicate his 1983 heroics. But when summer camp opened, Fred Dean wasn't there. Dissatisfied with his contract, Dean threatened to sit out the entire season. He taunted 49er management by saying he'd be spending his holdout on the beach.
Fred Dean had said that his workout regimen was to be in the sand dunes and drinking light beer on the beach in San Diego.
What I'm doing and what the team is doing is 2 different things. I'm dealing with management, and once everything is squared away, if it gets squared away, I'll go back and play ball.
Our owner, Eddie DeBartolo, sent him a rocking chair and said, "You can sit in that rocking chair for the next 50 years, as far as I'm concerned, because we're not going to give in." And it became sort of a war of the wills.
We have made a very, very positive and lucrative offer to Fred, and we're not going to change it.
Dean's absence posed a challenge for defensive coordinator George Seifert. But the clever, creative Seifert was a master at situation substitution. He compensated for the loss of Dean by designing schemes that utilized every defensive player on the roster. Number 76, Dwayne Board, had been a solid pass rusher since joining the team in 1979. Although he was overshadowed by Dean, Board emerged as the team leader in sacks for 1984. He produced 10 sacks during the regular season and 5 more in the postseason. Veterans like Gary Big Hands Johnson, number 97, and Jim Stuckey, number 79, came up with key sacks, and Seifert drew up more blitzes than he had in past seasons. Although Seifert's schemes created intense pressure, the 49ers' sack total fell off without Dean. But while Dean sat out, there were ongoing back-channel negotiations between 49ers management and Dean's representatives. Team owner Edward DeBartolo Jr. didn't take part in these negotiations, but many VIPs were involved.
I think everybody, possibly including the Pope, talked to Fred Dean that year about coming back and playing football. We had monsignors, we had bishops, we had cardinals, we had selectmen, we had governors, we had senators.
One of the most important comments made after today's game in Cleveland did not regard the game, and they were not made by any member of the San Francisco 49ers. They were made in a trailer, which is right next to this locker room, and they were made by Speaker of the House Willie Brown concerning the return of 49er defensive end Fred Dean.
Mr. Dean will be returning to the 49ers to play for the 49ers the remainder of the 1984 season and seasons beyond, pursuant to the terms of their arrangement.
When Dean returned, he was definitely in shape. Ed DeBartolo Jr. was still a little angry, but there was no bitterness from fans, teammates, or from Dean.
I feel good about it. I have no no grudges or anything like that. I feel comfortable with my situation. But it's been so long since I touched the quarterback. You know, I shook Joe's hand, I wanted to sack him.
we were hanging on defense, waiting for Fred to come in. And once that happened, mid-season, we really felt that there was nothing that could stop us. And the thing is, he doesn't have to come back and be in mid-season form because he doesn't play every down, so he can come in and contribute this week. I see it, and I just look at it as Christmas came early.
I'm very happy with the team the way it's playing, and I have been happy with it. I was not part of the negotiations. If I was part of the negotiations, I'm not so sure that this thing would have been settled.
You have a new member of the squad, young kid, sign in. Try to show him the ropes. Fred Dean is with us. I need to talk. Glad to be back, guys. That good?
Regardless of what his workout regimen had been during his 11-week holdout, Dean was ready for action against Tampa Bay. In his first game back, he registered a big sack that took the Bucs out of range for a possible game-tying field goal late in the fourth quarter. Over the final 5 games of the season, Dean had 4 sacks. During the stretch run to the playoffs, Dean's presence helped the defense increase its sacks per game average. Pressure applied by Dean helped the 49ers score 2 defensive touchdowns. During the postseason, Dean had 3.5 sacks and 13 total tackles. In the Super Bowl, he played more than usual as the 49ers used 4 down linemen for most of the game. Dean was part of a ferocious front 4 that shut down the run and shoved around quarterback Dan Marino. The 49ers had played great defense while Dean was gone. They played even greater when he returned. Even though Edward DeBartolo Jr. had lost the War of the Wills, his team had won the Super Bowl.